Well, Candidate Forum. I'm Lorianne Richardson, CEO of the Millbrae Chamber of Commerce, and I'll be the moderator this evening. I want to thank our audience and our candidates for coming tonight and helping this happen. Our candidates are, for District 2, Angelina Cahalan and Wayne Lee, and for District 4, Maurice Goodman and Bob Nguyen. And please note that Bob is a write-in candidate, so you will need to write his name in on the ballot if you're voting for Bob. The Millbrae residents have submitted many interesting questions, but only questions that met our forum guidelines will be included. That is guidelines of civility and relevancy. Anything that seemed to be an attack or a negative towards any particular candidate was not included and won't be acknowledged. Let's see. Let's go over the forum structure for tonight. We're going to begin with 3-minute opening statements from each of the candidates. We will then go into a question and answer period. The answers are limited to 1 minute from each candidate. And in the end, each candidate will make a 2-minute closing statement. We have, in addition to a moderator, me, we have a timekeeper. He is going to hold up his low-tech cards. He will be letting the candidates know when they have either a minute or 30 seconds left for their answers. So that's Tulu right over there. Thank you, Tulu, sitting right in front of you guys. And the opening statements, the order is determined by candidate last name in alphabetical order. So let's see, we're going to get to that. Yes. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with Angelina. That puts you as our first speaker tonight. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you to the Millbrae Chamber of Commerce, President Lorianne Richardson, and MCTV for hosting the Candidates Forum and allowing members of the community to get to know us. My name is Angelina Cahalan. I'm a proud 20-year resident of District 2. Earlier this year, the City Council made the final decision on the Millbrae district map. It was a disappointing choice. Instead of simply complaining, I wanted to do more for my community. After a lot of careful thought and discussion with my family, I knew that running for office was my best chance at making sure my community was represented, that our concerns were heard, and most importantly, we would have a better chance of providing input into the decisions that affected us. I've been told both to my face and passively that I don't have the political experience. However, I do have the experience to do this job. Millbrae is a city with many partners. We share land and resources with the airport, PG&E, and high-speed rail, to name a few. We need stronger relationships and agreements with our partners. I'm skilled at bringing people to the table and building relationships. I already have relationships with city staff and our Sheriff-elect, Christina Corpus. In fact, I'm happy to share that Chief Corpus has endorsed me. Millbrae, like most of America, is confronting our aging infrastructure. In my organizations, I've been part of transitioning programs and upgrading resources and leading technology transformations, all to bring our organizations into the modern infrastructure. We also face issues of climate change. Flooding, fires, and earthquakes are all realities for us. I have years of training in disaster response and resilience. Safety is a top issue for me. I know the influx of unhoused people is a concern for many of us. I have over 20 years working in homeless social services. I'm confident through expanding our partnerships with groups such as Life Moves, collaborating with BART, our Sheriff's Department, and San Mateo County Social Services that we can greatly reduce homelessness in our city. We are in the process of great development. We must work together to ensure that this development is sustainable, that this development brings change, and through change, there's often excitement, fear, and resistance. I've had the opportunities to lead change that was done with collaboration, communication, transparency, and trust that led to successful change that met stakeholders' needs and relieved their fears. I may not have political experience, however, I possess the experience and qualities of a compassionate and action-oriented leader who hopes to represent every member of District 2 and our city of Millbrae. I, Angelina Cahalan, will bring a fresh perspective as well as experience, skills, and passion to be the voice and advocate for change and solutions that you all deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Maurice, the opening statement, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Maurice Goodman. I'm the executive director of a San Francisco-based nonprofit that serves marginalized youth. I have also served as an elected official here in San Mateo County for 15 years and served you, the voters of Millbrae, for nearly 20, as a Red Cross volunteer, an educational advocate, and as a member of the San Mateo County Community College Board, overseeing a budget of nearly $500 million. I want to serve as your voice on City Council as I have committed my adult life to public service, and this would be yet another opportunity to afford me the opportunity to represent you, the voters, and provide my leadership, compassion, and focus on accountability to a community that I call home. So with that said, I humbly ask for your vote and an opportunity to earn your trust as a City Council member. And additionally, I want to start off by allowing me an opportunity to clear up and clarify a misunderstanding that my fellow candidate may have of me, as there are allegations that he's campaigning a message that I uprooted my family from where we lived to come to Millbrae and run for office. That is unequivocally untrue. I moved to Millbrae with my family, just as many voters have, to live a life of peace, free from any bias or hateful anti-Black rhetoric. I have lived here well before giving any consideration to running or even knowing of any district changes, not to mention the thoughtful nature in which I made my decision. That included waiting until the last day to file to give others within our community the opportunity. I ask that all candidates decry such activities and run for our community and not against each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Wayne, your opening statement, and you also have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Lorianne. Thank you to the Chamber, and thank you to MCTV. As a former mayor, vice mayor, and council member, I will be ready on day one to address the issues that matter to Millbrae residents. Earlier this year, I launched a survey to hear from residents what is important to them. I have the proven experience to ensure we address 1, maintain fire protection and police services, 2, ensure our parks, streets, and roads are properly maintained, 3, reducing homelessness, 4, fixing storm drains, infrastructures to prevent flooding and devastating accidents as a result. As mayor, I led the fight to save the Millbrae Fire Department from devastating cuts, securing $12 million in local control revenue to ensure that fire stations are kept open and adequate fire protection and emergency medical response. I have always supported our local small businesses. I'd established city committees on infrastructures, economic stability to support businesses, champion installing downtown Wi-Fi, and addressing storm drains and street infrastructure. Furthermore, I've been a national, state, and county leader on diversity and equity issues. I will continue to fight to ensure that all of us have a voice in City Hall, and I will ensure equal access to city resources. These are challenging times, demanding experience, innovation, dynamic leadership to keep our families and neighborhoods safe. I look forward to working with each and every one of you, the future of our neighborhood and city. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. And now, Bob, your opening statement with 3 minutes.
Okay, these are tough acts to follow because unlike a lot of these other candidates, I don't have much experience in public. Yeah, sorry, you can tell I don't have much experience in politics. But what I do have experience in is talking to my neighbors, working on the ground level, and seeing how everyone just talks about certain issues. You've seen it too, like you talk to your neighbors when he's watering his lawn, when he's talking about certain things, about, like certain things in the downtown. I'm not going to mention here, but I think we know what that is. And I'm here to run because there was no other choice. My wife actually approached me, I think, 3-4 weeks ago. I wasn't interested at the time to run for office. I wasn't looking at, okay, I'm going to make a career out of this. I'm an engineer, by the way. I just work a regular day job, and that's how I intend to keep my life, just do that. But what came up was certain policies or ideas that she conveyed through certain information channels, and I felt that it wasn't entirely the correct decision to go for the city. So after reviewing a lot of information, I talked to my wife about this, and then she convinced me, as well as some of my friends and peers, to run for this District 4. I'm aware that this is the first time we're having these district voting structures, if you will. And I really want to drive home that I've been living here for 6 years. I didn't just recently move here, right? I'm totally invested in this community. I intend to stay here for the rest of my life if I can. And I actually, I've been married to my wife for like 12 years. I have a daughter that's 3 years old, and a daughter on the way, I think, in December. So we want to stay here. We want to grow our roots here. We want to make sure that we have that community. And for me, I really want to focus on a couple of pillars that I consider for any city. It's not just Millbrae, but public safety, right? I don't think anyone will disagree to that. We want to make sure that we can cover our bases. Like when I walk the streets, even going to City Hall, I made the mistake going to the Chamber of Commerce earlier. I had to come over here because I'm new to this, right? You guys can tell. And I felt safe here, right? I want to continue to have that feeling of walking from the Chamber of Commerce over to here and feel safe, right? And that's number one, the public safety. Two is the infrastructure or a business. I kind of mix the two together. I do want to have the opportunity to continue and improve our business, our local economy, because that's like the lifeblood, right? Like we generate our tax revenues. 50% of our tax revenues actually come from restaurants. So we do want to continue this streak here, and it helps to make our city better. And then finally, the sense of community. Like I'm just going to share it there. I'm an avid tennis player, and it's a disappointment, in my opinion, that we only have 3 tennis courts. And I'm not saying just for myself, but this is only an example. I hope you guys follow me. Yeah. So anyways, I want to just improve that community, that sense of community, and hopefully you guys can get that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and for our first question for the candidates, all of which were submitted by Millbrae residents, we'll go with you first, Bob, and then we'll go to Wayne. Okay. And this question has 2 parts. Feel free to ask me to repeat it if you need to. How do you foresee our community being impacted by the opening of the Millbrae BART Station Gateway project with its new housing, office, and retail space? And what should be the City Council's top priorities to address these challenges? So
in my limited preparation, there's 3 points. One is the parking spaces, right? Like when we built the structure, there's like, so going from my engineering background again, I always look at things from a pros and cons perspective. And the parking space, we lost 100 parking spaces, right? In that, by demolishing all those parking spaces, and then we get in return this new commercial, retail, residential space. And the second one is the traffic, right? We have high density retail or residential, and that's going to increase our traffic. And then there's the effects of our neighborhoods, right? Like you're going to have more people walking around. It's just inevitable. The correlation is there. So those are the 3 potential issues I can see from this. And then the potential, I guess, solutions or mitigations, if you want to call it that, is we want to work with our developers to ensure that we have adequate parking, right? That's a critical thing. Whenever we build structures or do things for business, we should have parking available for that. And then also making sure we have biking-friendly options, as well as holding bar accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. And Wayne, same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
No, thank you. I got it. Okay, here's the issues. Traffic, parking, public safety, protecting existing neighborhoods, especially the Bayview Manor area, advocating for safe and clean stations. I've been fighting this issue with this developer. They've took away parking spaces that they promised to provide. They're inadequate parking and traffic studies that was passed by the council, but myself and Vice Mayor Gina Pappen knew it wasn't done properly. So we will definitely look at those issues and create reports so that we can better address those traffic and parking issues, as well as adding cameras to the neighborhood to make sure that crime is abated, and as well as providing a second exit for those people at the for the Bayview area so they can get out in the case of another emergency. And so public safety, clean station, myself and Vice Mayor Pappen has been getting on BART station and the BART management about keeping the station clean and safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. And Maurice, same question, please.
I believe the immediate challenge would be that of an immediate impact on traffic flow and safety for pedestrians. Added enforcement of traffic laws may be useful as it is needed to recalibrate traffic lights, keeping lines of communication open between city management and local businesses during and after the 30, 60, 90 days through the opening. Additionally, improving infrastructure, expanding relationships with the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office, conducting a needs assessment of officers. Do we have the right amount? Community forums focused on the area of concern, hearing directly from those impacted most.
Thank you. And finally, Angelina, same question. 1 minute.
Yes. Since I have limited time, I think I would be repeating a lot of what everyone already said, but the one additional item that I would add to this is a whole new development and community coming to Millbrae, and I think we need to ensure that they're not an isolated community, that we work to make these new residents feel a part of our city, that we get them engaged with downtown, patronizing businesses, coming to events, and really being a part of the community, and encouraging existing neighborhoods to go to this new community and patronize those businesses and those areas so that we're really a growing, lively, cohesive, engaged community and supporting our city's businesses and downtown activities. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, for our next question, we'll go to Maurice first. This question is about the city's new election districts. If you had been on the city council when they voted on district maps, would you have voted for the map that they chose to divide the neighborhoods? Map G? Why? Or why not?
What I will speak to, since I wasn't here, is what I have done. And the best way to judge someone is by their past actions. And I will say that as a trustee at the college board and first person of color on that board, my immediate job was to convince my colleagues to go to district elections. And in doing so, I did so by ignoring incumbency, ignoring politics, and focus solely on the people and their voice. I believe had I been on the council, I would have done just that and ignored politics. I would have focused on the most impactful map that created a voice for those that shared the most in common and not diluting their voice.
Thank you. Wayne, same question.
I fought against district elections. I thought this disenfranchised the whole city. I think that you only get to vote for one person once every 40 years. And if that person is ineffective, you're stuck with that person. Whereas when you voted for 5 people over 4 years, you had more input into what's going on in the city. So I really fought that. I don't have an opinion, honestly, because I didn't participate at all in those discussions. I decided to let the process go. There were talks about me. I didn't know if I was going to be able to run or not run, or waited 2 years. So I really had no. I'm just going to try to do my best as a public servant. That's all I care about.
Thank you, Wayne. And Angelina, same question.
I would have voted against Map G. The purpose of districts is to ensure that all areas of a city have representation and to ensure that communities of interest are represented. On the east side, we have a lot of communities of interest, from flooding, air, noise pollution. We have communities that are more highly represented in our neighborhood, like the Latino community, East Asian community, Pacific Islander community, to name a few. This map split our neighborhood on the east side into 3 different areas, 3 different districts. all combined with parts of the west side, which would allow us to continue to have only west side residents on our city council and continue for the east side to be disenfranchised. And this is why I chose to run, so that despite these map lines, the east side will have a voice at the table.
Thank you. And now you, Bob.
So I wasn't on the the council when Map G was created. I didn't submit a map, so I don't know much about it. From the basic research I've done, it seems like the things that you'd want to do to get equal representation. I'd really need to understand that more to make a better decision. But I do want to say that I will work with the neighborhoods, all neighborhoods actually, and then make an effort to address the unhoused people. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the asker of our next question wanted the candidates to know that they've lived in Millbrae for over 30 years, raised 5 children here, and are active community members. They say Latinos don't feel recognized in this community despite their contributions and a large Hispanic workforce, especially in Millbrae's restaurants, which are an important part of the local economy. If elected, how will you ensure that Millbrae's Hispanic residents feel valued, especially the candidates for District 2 with its large Hispanic population? Wayne?
Well, I'm endorsed by Rudy Espinoza, chair of the Latin caucus, as well as Alicia Aguilar from Redwood City, former chair of the Hispanic State Caucus. This is a problem for all cultures, not just for the Hispanic culture. We have that issue going on all the time for all of our cultures. And that's why I've always interacted with all the different cultures as a soccer coach, founding president of the Millbrae Education Foundation. I belong to the Latin caucus. I've always spent a lot of time with the different cultures because I feel that we need to come together and not be apart. Because right now the country is divided, and we need to spend more time getting to know each other and also supporting each other. So I find that this question is if that person feels disenfranchised, then I'm open. Call me up. I'll get you connected because the Lions Club is very well represented.
Thank you, Wayne. Angelina? Same question.
Yes. Yes, I think this is a great question. As a city council member, I want to make sure that all of our communities are honored, that everyone feels seen, heard, and celebrated. I think as a member of the Lomita Park PTA, we have an incredibly diverse community at our school. Over 10 languages spoken. We have a very large Latino community, and we've done a lot of work in our communications and our engagement to make people feel more represented and to have a greater voice. And I would take that to the greater city. I recognize that as a white woman living in one of the most diverse neighborhoods in the city, that I need to work to lift voices and give people an opportunity to be engaged. I would like to bring more folks on our city commissions and committees to be a part of decision making and bring more events and activities to our city where our Latino community and our other communities all feel represented and heard in our city.
Thank you. And Bob?
I don't feel any group should be disrespected at all. Like every group should be respected equally. And I can share a story with you. I kind of briefly went over earlier in the beginning, but obviously I'm Asian. I'm Vietnamese American, and I want to tell you about my parents' story. Actually, like they were Vietnamese refugees from the war, had to come over here, and they didn't know the language, they didn't know the culture. They had to learn everything themselves, get to a point where it allowed me to be where I'm at today. So I'm very thankful for that. And I wanted to mention this because it mirrors a lot of other stories, including the Latino community. So I do feel the struggle. I feel definitely there are things that we need to do better. And if I'm elected, I will definitely work and strive using my own experience with my parents' experience to get to that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. And now Maurice, same question, 1 minute.
Yes, thank you for that question. I will hold my fellow council members accountable to the words, our city's mission statement, to enhance the quality of life in our shared community and to embrace cultural diversity in a safe environment. In this day and age, hate and fear-mongering. I choose humanity, and so should our city, so should our residents, so should our council. And that is what we need to stand for and focus on our shared humanity and not what separates us. There should be recognition of our shared diversity, Asian, Pacific Islander, Hispanic, Italian, and yes, despite our city's troubled past with racial covenants, even our small population of African Americans should feel welcome and free from bias and hateful rhetoric. I will make sure there is true representation in every aspect of our city, from restaurants, cultural days, arts, and give voice to our underrepresented community.
Thank you, Maurice. And now our next question will go to Angelina first this time. If elected to City Council, what will you do to support bias training for all elected representatives and city staff to help Millbrae fulfill its mission to embrace cultural diversity in a safe environment?
As we've been talking about, we have such a beautiful, diverse city, and I think we need to be even more thoughtful about inclusion and accessibility at all levels. We have many areas to grow, from offering accommodations at city council meetings, publishing our communications in more languages, and even just the little things in our everyday lives, like working to pronounce each other's names properly. I think all city staff and representatives should have a lens of inclusion in planning, decision-making, and all interactions in our community. There's a fear of challenging ourselves, but when we challenge ourselves, there's so much growth and opportunity. We all benefit from unlearning any behaviors that we have that can contribute to making anyone feel othered, belittled, or unseen. I would support and encourage initiatives such as bias training and other diversity, equity, and inclusion opportunities for our employees.
Thank you. Same question, and this time for Wayne.
Oh, I'm not a person who talks about things. I get things done. I do it. I started a diversity caucus made up of diverse electeds, and we try to bring training and awareness and cross-cultural activities together. So to me, it's just a matter of making sure that people are educated. I don't think anybody wants to have hate in them, but I know people have hate. I don't hate anybody because I think it's a virus. So I would encourage people to come and approach people of minority and learn that they're their neighbors. They're your neighbors. They're people too. They raise families and they want to have a decent job and have an opportunity too.
Thank you, Wayne. And now, Bob.
I fully support it. I think it's a good idea to have bias training, because it's always the details, right? Especially today where things aren't overt, right? We may say things, they call it, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but microaggression. We can say things we don't really mean, and it can be interpreted incorrectly. So having this training isn't just like a paperwork exercise. It means that we are aware of our actions, even if it may not come off as we have no bad intentions. So we want to communicate that effectively, and to be able to have training so that we know the possibilities of our statements, even if we were well intended. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. And Maurice, same question.
Yes, and as a testament to my commitment to this work and a member of the NAACP, when there were issues in Millbrae and beyond around bias, I was called upon by Wayne to be a part of that endeavor to focus on these issues. And I will continue to lead by example, just as I've done on the community college board when discussing issues of bias. I will put cultural diversity at the forefront of all we do and lead us by using a lens of equity and understanding. We will publicly plan, execute a diversity, equity, and inclusion plan that will include, but will not be limited to, training around bias, as that is just the beginning.
Thank you. Okay, and our next question also relates to bias. So we'll go to Angelina first. If elected, would you support the establishment of a social equity commission for the city of Millbrae, given that Millbrae has many diverse cultures and socioeconomic backgrounds?
Yes, I would support a social equity commission that is designed and created responsibly. I think we need to look at similar commissions within our county and see what is working well so that we can model the best commission for us here in Millbrae. Social equity is far from a political issue or even one that relates to just race. It's the notion that in all the work that we do, accessibility and inclusion are at the heart of, are front and center. We should have a commission that puts checks and balances in place on our hiring practices, appointment processes, unconscious bias training, understanding, and responding to the needs of our community members with physical or invisible disabilities.
Thank you. And Bob?
So you have to pardon me. I don't know the parlance here, but from my interpretation of this language, right, I think this is well intentioned, and I would say, based on my limited knowledge of this, I am very supportive of a social equity commission. Like going back to the previous question as well, we need to have awareness of just socially equal across the board, and if we need to have a commission to do that, I fully support that. Thank you.
And Maurice?
Yes. Yes, I will support not just a social equity commission, but a social, gender, and economic equity commission. One that is inclusive and provides voice and representation for our entire community. I will also say that we do not just need a commission to have it, but we also need to make sure that this social equity commission is representing the entire county or citywide voice, but also to make sure that we have the will to do the work. It's not just about having a commission and have individuals assigned to it. It's about having the will to do what is right by our neighbors.
Thank you. And Wayne?
Yeah, I agree that we need to do it, and I appreciate all the comments from my fellow candidates. We need to, I'm part of the Millbrae Cultural Committee. We started this issue for this reason, to bring understanding and togetherness to fight social injustice. I started the caucus for that reason, and I've always said that if we don't come together, we're not going to be a very good city because we're just tearing each other apart. So I'd like to thank the allies from ARC, and I'd like to thank the MCC, Millbrae Culture Committee, and other organizations that are trying to do this work. And we need to put money where our mouth is on these commissions, because in my opinion, most of our commissions don't get enough money to do their job correctly.
Thank you, Wayne. And we'll go to our next question. This is from a resident of Bayside Manor who says when they called the sheriff's office and gave their address, San Francisco Police Department showed up instead of the local sheriff's office. They were told it's because their neighborhood is adjacent to airport property owned by the city and county of San Francisco. The resident said SFPD had no idea what type of call they were responding to, citing lack of coordination between the two agencies. The question, which we'll let Maurice answer first, is, if elected, what steps would you take to improve this situation for Bayside Manor?
If and when I'm elected, I will work to listen to our residents to clarify what the concerns are. I will then work with our city manager and representatives to make sure that we're instructing and supporting the right direction to ensure that the MOUs or agreements that we have with, whether it's the San Francisco airport or whether it's with the city of San Francisco and their police department, that communication is clear and the phone calls and 911 responses are routed directly to the appropriate parties.
Thank you. And Bob, same question?
So just disclosure here, like there was a list of questions that were sent previously. Maybe I missed the email, but it wasn't part of that question chain. I'm just going to answer candidly. Hope you guys just bear with me here. But what I've heard so far is I think it comes down to training. We need to have the sheriff, police, or whoever's involved for law enforcement well trained to deal with this, right? And it sounded like in this case there were some details that were missed. And if I'm elected, I would make sure that we get to a point where the sheriff's department and the police have protocols for all these even more unique cases so we don't fall into these positions. Thank you.
Wayne?
Well, the sheriff department runs the 911 center, and so we'll be working with Sheriff-elect Christy Corpus on that issue very carefully, as well as with our assigned chief police. I think it's good that somebody responded quickly. I don't find it good that they don't know what's going on. But I think that what we need to do is not only put more cameras in the neighborhood to police that area, and many, especially the areas on the east side of El Camino, because they're going to be impacted. So I would definitely require or strongly suggest they do more training, and perhaps do more opportunities for communication, because that's obviously what is lacking, communications.
Thank you, Wayne. And Angelina, same question.
Yes. You know, on the east side neighborhoods, all of the areas behind us, we have Caltrain, we have SFO. So that brings in San Francisco police and then also Millbrae police. You know, we often think about city relationships being at really high levels and on those commissions, but I think we really need to build more of those local relationships and bring these groups together so that local residents know who to call when we call one of these agencies. If we're calling the wrong one, they know each other and know who to direct us to. Because there's a lot of layers to these relationships and these interactions. So I think there's a lot of community building and outreach that we can do to bring all of these organizations together so that when these situations come up, we can have a team effort and respond to these accurately.
Thank you, Angelina. And now our next question, we'll go to Bob first with this one. The person said, we keep hearing that I'm sorry, I'll skip one. Yeah, the wrong order. Let's see. Wayne, let's start with you on this one because I don't want to throw this off. What should the city do to prevent future incidents of underpass flooding? And how would you ensure that East Side land isn't overbuilt to the point where that contributes to flooding?
I've already spoke to the airport management, and the management is they assured me that they're going to clean out the Lamita Creek, but that's not the start. That's just the beginning. To me, sea level rise is the biggest threat. If you can't get the water out, then we're going to get stuck anyway. So we also should provide a second way out for not only for flooding reasons, but also for fires or if the train derails or something really catastrophic happens. There needs to be a second way out. To prevent flooding, we need to prevent the accidents. We definitely can do engineering controls, which is an easy thing to do, and it's not rocket science.
Thank you, Wayne. Bob, same question?
Okay, so from my research, basic research of this, there was a couple things that happened, and it seems unclear if BART is a contributor, but what seems clear to me is that the SFO canals were not maintained properly. And I saw some of the videos. They looked pretty bad, actually. Saw some of these apartments where half their window on the first floor was like flooded, and that to me. And then if you look at other areas that weren't flooded, that tells me that there's an infrastructure problem, maintenance issue. So we would have to work closely with SFO to ensure and have methods to ensure that the canals are free and clear, so that we don't run into this issue again.
Thank you, Maurice.
What should be done? I would say, thanks to the residents, the city manager, and our public works department, much has already been done and continues to be done. The party responsible for clearing the waterway that was blocked and contributed to flooding has been and continues to be worked on through coordination with our public works department to do all they can do to address the concerns. However, after walking the area and listening to concerns of neighbors, I also believe we can continue to do more to prevent and mitigate the destructive incidents of the past by planning for the worst case scenario.
Thank you. And Angelina, same question.
Yes, East Side flooding is personal to me, and this past year we had the worst flooding that we have ever had. Since that time, myself and my neighbors have been working very close with the city manager, with our public works department, with some of our city council, and we've been able to get state officials involved to get the airport to finally clean out the canal after 20 years. This is almost done, and so this is a great success and part of the work that I've already been doing even before I thought about running for council. We also need to really update our storm drains. With climate change and the size floods and rains that we're having today, our storm drains are not built for that. So we need to upgrade those. And in regards to the questions around development, we need to ensure that these new developments are built and accounted for our storm drains and water planning along with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so our next question, let's go to Bob first. We keep hearing, this is what the person wrote, we keep hearing that the apartment building at the end of Hemlock Avenue might be used to house homeless people. How do you think that would impact the neighborhood and the community if that happens?
Yeah, so I briefly read on that plan, and there's just details just because the last minute. I got the invitation on Sunday, but from the limited research I got, it seems like if we look at some of the examples that were done in different cities in the Bay Area, for example, Half Moon Bay, the impacts were overall, I mean, it's never 100% clear, but overall negative, right? And by negative, I mean effects to business, right? Drops in business, more occurrences of criminal activity. So I think I'm all about data, and because this is from my profession, right, being an engineer, it's all about being data, like looking at the facts, and it seems like a negative thing to have. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Maurice, same question.
The unhoused epidemic in our county is a tremendous problem, and I will support providing Millbrae families with affordable options and access to housing with dignity. I will also say that we can also address unhoused residents of our city by continued support of programs like Life Moves, holding our neighboring cities and county accountable for a realistic response to the issue, as it is not our own to bear, and unhoused residents, as well as demanding more affordable housing and new developments.
Thank you. And Angelina, same question.
I think to start off with this, it's always important for people to have the facts. And so in speaking with city staff, the county is looking at this property, but it hasn't been purchased yet. And the plans are actually for it to be a transitional housing program for people coming out of other primary programs. So the plan actually isn't for homeless shelter. I have 20 years of work in homeless services, and I will bring that to working with Life Moves and our city, with Chief Corpus and our local police on how we can address and care for our homeless residents to get them the services they need and ensure that our city is safe. And then if I am on council, when it comes time to work with the county and make decision what would happen with this residence, I'd work to make sure that it's the best possible option for our safety and supporting the community for what goes in there. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
And
think
Wayne,
I'll
obviously.
save you some time.
Knows what to do.
As the mayor, I started the homeless subcommittee to address this issue because it was an issue where BART was dropping off the homeless people at the end of the line every night, and that was causing a lot of problems. I want to tell everybody that Millbrae is a compassionate city. We are not we're not stigmatizing every homeless person as a drug addict or a thief. There are people who are on the edge of being homeless, and I could be one of them because of any catastrophic issue. So, given that, I fully support homelessness, but only in the right place, and where they can be homeless people can be safe, as well as the neighborhood. The neighborhood should not be burdened in the fact that they are afraid of a situation, and those people in the homeless situation be given all the services and environment where they can be successful. So Angelina's right. We don't know what this project is, so to talk about it is premature.
Thank you, Wayne. Okay, our next question has to do with neighborhood safety as well. We'll go to Maurice first. This asker of the question said, as a parent of young children who attend Lamita Park School, neighborhood and community safety are a top concern. It's not uncommon to see transients and people who appear to be mentally challenged at the end of Hemlock Avenue and along the path that goes through Marina Vista, which many children take to go to school. Their question is, what are some of your ideas for ensuring community safety in our district, particularly along the path that many of us walk to get to school? Maurice?
I would encourage ensuring that the response from the Sheriff's Department would include a mental health professional. I would include making sure that they're armed with resources to support individuals in mental distress. But when it comes to our students and public safety, we have to make sure that that's our utmost concern. We have to make sure that in doing our job as providing safety and security for our students and our children and our families walking to and from school, that we do so, however, with a sense of dignity and compassion.
Thank you. And now, Angelina.
Millbrae has an incredible partnership with a nonprofit called Life Moves, and Life Moves has had great success working at BART in bringing folks off the street and into social services and into housing. I think we need to expand this beyond the BART station and especially bring it to the area of Hemlock and Marina Vista, where we are seeing a lot of folks residing, and also partnering with our Sheriff's Department to bring in, again, social services, mental health treatment, and ensuring that these are clear and safe pathways for folks. I also think there's great empowerment training we can do with our families and our youth to feel confident walking through the streets and knowing how to respond in challenging situations and knowing who to call. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Bob, same question.
So this wasn't on the list of questions, but I'll try to answer it candidly. I think how I would approach this is training, right? Kind of similar to what we talked about earlier with bias training. It takes like all parties involved to get into altercations, right? Like mental health is a lot of times related to what other people are doing around you. And having the right training, such as bias training, will get us to a much better place. We will understand potentially actions that we're not even aware of that would offend or get people into that state of unhealthy, I guess, mental health. So that's my response to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question.
We've had nothing but tragic results from the police acting as social workers. They're out of their depths. That's not what they're trained for. They're trained for safety. They're trained for community building. They're not trained for social services. So Life Moves is a great solution. And we think that we need to provide more training and coordination between our law enforcement and social services, and know when to call the right people, as well as protect that person too. The perpetrator needs to be protected, because if they're high on drugs, we want to make sure they're not walking around in the middle of traffic, which happened, and with tragic results. So we want to avoid that sort of situation, and we want to put our money where it's going to give us the most bang on our buck, because we don't have a lot of money, but we want to make sure it works.
Thank you. And now, let's see, our next question. We will go to Angelina first. This question submitter says, they recently had an experience of needing help from the city council, but after sending repeated emails to the council as a whole and as individuals, they got no response. And their question is, do you think we should have a new protocol in place to make sure emails to council members are responded to appropriately, perhaps by sorting them by district now that we have them? Interesting idea. I'm sorry. And Angelina, you're up first.
I would hope that districts or not, each of us as council members would have the care for our residents that we represent to respond to them no matter what. Maybe working together as a council, if we could collaborate as a team and say maybe we first respond to our residents, to respond to their needs if it's something neighborhood or district specific, and then have a collaborative approach to responding to citywide issues. But again, I would hope that all of us as representatives, part of our responsibility and the reason we want to be here is to support our neighbors, and that we would ensure that we respond to those emails and do so in a timely manner.
Thank you. And Bob, same question?
So this, again, was a new question, but I think my approach would be, again, like I'm just repeating myself like a broken record, but we really need to, as a community, be understanding of all the parties involved, and that requires us to be, sorry to say, like bias training and going through all those procedures so that we understand our actions before we commit to it. Thank you.
And Wayne?
I've always answered my emails. I'm not going to talk about my other colleagues, but I can tell you that I've always answered my emails, and even now I ask people to, if they have a question or if they have concern, to email me or call me. And I also put out a survey to the community. So I try to I have a website. I'm on Facebook. Everybody knows I ride my bike up and down the street. So I try to be as visible, and I'm also part of the Lions Club. So people know they can approach me, and they often do. So I try to be accessible as possible. And I'm not perfect, but I would love to, I'm very approachable, and everybody knows that. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. And Maurice, same question.
Yes. In my role as a college county college district trustee, we're elected in districts. However, I represent every single voter in San Mateo County. And if someone emailed me, it would be up to me to make sure that I'm responsive to them. However, the tricky thing is, and we have to acknowledge that, is that as a board, you have one individual, or as a council, you have one individual, which is a mayor, who's the official voice of the council. Now, if we speak out of turn or have communications, that might jeopardize us or put us in a situation where we have an issue of the Brown Act violation. And so there's different instances where we cannot respond, but there are instances where we can create protocol where we have clear communication and understanding that, hey, if this happens, send this canned email back to say, hey, I cannot respond. However, your email will be forwarded to the council mayor, to the mayor, and you will get a response, or from city management or something, but there has to be a commitment to communication.
Thank you. And let's see, our next question is actually about council rotation. What are your feelings as a council candidate about changing the order of the mayoral rotation? Wayne?
Well, I think we made, I was able to, and I'm very proud to get one of our former council members to be mayor and out of rotation. So I think it really depends on the situation. Of course, when I wasn't planning to be mayor at one time, and one of our council members passed away. So it all depends on the situation and the timing and what's going on. So I'm not opposed to it as if business is if it's a business requirement. So I don't, being mayor is a lot of work. So and it's and you don't get extra pay, but it's enjoyable, and it's good, a double-edged sword. So I think that everybody gets an opportunity, and I'm happy to do that.
Thank you, Wayne. And Bob, same question.
I'm going to approach this more like an engineer, but the trade-offs, what I look at is the pros and cons, right? And when you do rotation, one of the pros is that you get fresh perspectives, right? And that allows people to get a ground level view, because you're only as good as your inputs, right? You're only good as the information you're seeing on the ground. Like if someone complains about, for example, public safety, someone complains about not feeling like a sense of community, then that's an issue. So rotation would be good in that case. But at the same time, you may be rotating out someone with very good experience, someone that knows how to run the city well, right? And I can't directly answer it. It's a complex topic, and it requires much more details to fully answer this. Thank you.
Thank you. And Maurice,
Yeah,
same question, please?
Can you read the question again?
Yes.
I kinda got.
What are your feelings as a council candidate about changing the order of the mayoral rotation?
Yeah, changing the order of mayoral rotation is something that should be done, obviously, but it also depends on the individuals that are serving, and that you should also be understanding that while you have protocol, there is no policy. You can do the will of what the council wants. And I think given any situation, if there is no set understanding of what the best protocol is, we rely on fairness, equity, and representation. Yes, it's a lot of work, but we have a city manager to do the work. We have a team, a staff to do the work. Our job is to be fair in making sure that individuals feel represented, that our community feels as though they have a voice and who represents them.
Thank you. And finally, Angelina, same question.
Yes, I agree with some of the things that have been mentioned here. I think there's definitely a fairness that happens when we maintain that rotation. But if we're looking at different opportunities and especially issues around equity and inclusion, like Maurice was speaking, and some experience and different background that folks bring to the position, there may be rare situations that we might want to go out of that rotation. This is something new that I haven't thought about much, but I think it's something significant to think about and consider if I were to have that opportunity to make this difficult decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelina. And our next question, we'll start with you on this one, Bob. As a resident of Millbrae since 2005, this is the question submitter speaking, it feels like our community could benefit from new ideas and voices. This election seems like a choice between experience and a fresh perspective. Both have merit. How would you compare the value of those two qualities in determining the future of Millbrae?
I think those two qualities are very important. We definitely need a fresh perspective, right? I can say this because when I was walking the streets in Broadway, for example, I was able the opportunity to talk to 25 business owners down there, and not a single one had a different opinion on what they think are challenges to the city, right? So good decisions come from good inputs, right? And what we need to do is really see what their issues or what their problems are. And I was able to listen and see all that on top of even talking to residents. Like when I just walked around and shake hands, talk to people. I met a Maltese gentleman. I think he was in the 70s. He lived here for 40 years, and it is in some ways strange but positive that his opinions are very similar to those business owners on where they want to see the direction of Millbrae. And I'm listening, and I feel that having that perspective on top of the experience would be valuable. Thank you.
Thank you. And Maurice, same question?
Experience is extremely valuable, but one must ask, experience in what? Where one draws their experience is just as important as the experience. Plus, you must also consider what the council needs. What does the city need? Next, you look at a fresh perspective, and you consider what would the perspective bring to the team, and if that answer is a jolt or a possible recommitment and greater focus on our collective improvement, I will say fresh perspective wins every single time, coupled with the unique experience brought.
Thank you. Angelina, the same question?
I think both of these qualities are important. However, people seem to equate experience with political experience. Our city is currently home to about 22,000 people and growing exponentially. This requires leaders with experience to collaborate, work well with others, and turn viable ideas into concrete actions, and I possess those experiences. If people are looking for political experience, we have many folks in our council with that experience today. We need to round that out with a fresh perspective. The city office is about representation, and I represent the everyday working class, proudly hailing from the east side of El Camino, where we've had historically no representation.
Thank you. And Wayne, same question.
Oh, I think new perspectives is critical. I've always brought new perspective to my position. When I started the Education Foundation, when I helped get the digital sign that brings the $600,000 a year to the city, when I pushed for Wi-Fi to increase our business viability for downtown, and I always try to bring new perspective and innovation, and I always welcome. That's why I always try to talk to people and get their ideas. But right now, why I'm running is because Millbrae is going through some really drastic changes, and we need somebody with a steady hand and who knows how to navigate and know how to make the right connections and and provide the right resources. So that's why I'm running.
Thank you, Wayne. Okay. This next question will start with you, Maurice, and the asker would like to know, how would your personal style help you collaborate with your fellow city council members to achieve meaningful change in Millbrae?
My reputation and personal style is to work as a consensus builder and one that is willing to unapologetically work as a team with mutual respect of each other and mutual accountability of each other, ensuring that individuals feel that they're in a safe space to agree to disagree, but also understand we have to focus on the issues at hand and representing our community the best we could.
Thank you. And Wayne, same question?
Yeah, repeat
Yeah,
the
I
question.
can happily. How would your personal style help you collaborate with your fellow city council members to achieve meaningful change?
Around the county, I'm known as the mediator. I'm the one who brings different parties together. And during my time, I think I was blessed to have council members who I was able to work with on both sides. And my reputation is being fair. So I might not agree with you, but I'll work with you to help. If it's going to help Millbrae, I'm going to work with you. So now I'm going to give you the resources and my expertise and my leadership experience to help you. And that's how we work together for the better of Millbrae. And it's not about me; it's about Millbrae.
Thank you, Wayne. Angelina, the same question?
You know, I pride myself on being a listener, a collaborator, a team player. I've been attending city council meetings all year long and have been getting to know our current city council and understand their perspectives and their priorities. And I agree that the city and our hopes and our goals should be first and foremost. And I know we're not always going to agree on everything, but I think we can work with each other, be respectful, trust each other, that we all have Millbrae and our residents at the heart of everything that we do.
Thank you. And finally, Bob, the same question.
So my day job, just going through this whole process, running for this particular office position, it's very similar. I didn't think of it at the time, but consensus building is extremely important in what I do in my day job. The product isn't necessarily how we run a city, but it's just how disclaimer, I work on medical devices, so I design stuff like implants or thrombectomy devices, things that basically save lives, right, these devices. And getting consensus is extremely challenging, right, with your peers. I would say the most challenging, because your supervisor will just tell you what to do and you got to do it. And then the subordinates that that reports to you, but it's the peers, right? How do you build that? And when we go through examples of certain scenarios, it is something that I can proudly say from at least a product design perspective, and I can bring over to here as well. I see a lot of similarities, and I'm confident that I can build a consensus if I'm elected.
Thank you. And now we'll do one more question, and we will then go to our closing statements. For this question, Angelina, you can go first. A city council member has to be willing to go out and listen and learn from the people they represent. If elected, How do you plan to actively engage with the people in your district?
I feel the most energized and alive when I am engaging with people. I've been doing just as anyone running, getting out in the community and knocking on doors and talking to folks. And it's been incredible, the people that I'm meeting, the hospitality I'm experiencing, and how much I'm learning about all different parts of Millbrae. And we've made great strides as a city to enhance our communications, but I think we need even more transparency and outreach, and I think we need to go a little grassroots and old school and get out there and talk to folks, and through these personal relationships, once those foundations are built, then you get people engaged in the technology like the apps and signing up for the emails. But we need more community events. We need more face-to-face time with our residents to build those relationships and to enhance that trust and transparency and communication with the residents of our city.
Thank you. Maurice?
Yes, I would say getting out from behind the dais and making sure that we understand that this is to do the work of the city publicly. And then the next part of our job is to get out and meet people, communicate, just as I've done over the last few months, knocking on doors, having office hours at Starbucks, meeting community members every Monday at 9, every Friday at 3 o'clock. Come see me, visit votegoodman.com. But it's really about being present, being available to business owners, to families, to those that don't look like us, to those that are homeless. Putting yourself in uncomfortable situations to make sure that everyone in the city has a voice.
Thank you. And Bob?
Could you repeat the question, please?
So a city council member has to be willing to go out and listen and learn from the people they represent. If elected, how do you plan to actively engage with the people in your district?
So I need to do more of that, but I've been doing that already, just talking to people. I've walked my entire neighborhood for, the area within Tuolumne and Ahwahnee, and I was able to talk to several people, and I don't see that going away. If I'm elected, I would still do that. I personally just enjoy it, just get to hear stories. I have intrinsic need to understand what people are feeling. And when I walked the streets for Broadway, which isn't even District 4, just to know the business owners, none of it had to do with even campaigning. It was just, I was personally curious about how they run their lives and what their challenges were. So I don't see that going away. I'm going to continue doing that if I'm elected.
Thank you, Bob. And Wayne?
I like your attitude. So yeah, well, I mean, part of the Lions Club, I do a lot of projects, and the reason, I mean, one of the benefits is that you go out in the neighborhood, you learn who the neighbors are, you go to all the schools, you meet different people, different walks of life, and I'm always, I'm not the type of persons that come to me, I go to them. And my other thing is that one of the things that's really important for the fabric of our community is togetherness, to get to know your neighbors, because that's the safest thing for each other. And not only that, but that also reduces the divisiveness that's going on. So if you know your neighbor, they're no longer a object, they're a person. So I really, really have done this in my immediate neighborhood with the deputy mayor, vice mayor. We have neighborhood parties. And I hope that we can continue doing those in different parts of the district. And I'm good at raising money, so I can do it.
Thank you, Wayne. Now we'll give each of our candidates the opportunity to make a closing statement. Your statement can be up to 2 minutes, and this will be in the reverse order that you made your opening statement. So, Bob, you can begin.
So going into this, unlike many Millbrae residents, I didn't know as much as I should on the political process, on what it takes to run a city. Going through this, it's a lot of work. I'll admit, like just campaigning, talking to people. But I would also say it's extremely gratifying to hear people talk about their problems, challenges, right? Residents and business owners alike. And my takeaway from this is that the problems are far more common than I thought previously. It is like almost dead even, like everyone saying the same thing. It's like in unison. And learning all that, I feel that I can bring a fresh perspective going back on some of the questions that we talked about earlier. Like I'm just gonna be honest, I don't have the political experience, right? I'm just a guy that lived here for 6 years and wants to see improvement on public safety, on businesses, right, that are leaving Millbrae, and to be able to just maintain that status of that lifestyle that we have, just living in Millbrae, choosing to be here, and just helping grow Millbrae. I feel that there's a potential improvement that we can do, and I can help with that. Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Wayne. Closing statement.
Well, first, I want to thank the Chamber and MCTV, as well as my colleagues here. I hope you stay engaged regardless of what happens. I am honored to have the endorsement of a broad coalition. My relationships mean that I can fight for Millbrae at the county, state, and national level to get our fair share. We are small but mighty. Relationships and experienced leadership is necessary to make certain our needs aren't passed over by those larger cities. Please join, and I'm honored to have the endorsement of Congresswoman Jackie Speier, former Senator Jerry Hill, labor leaders, the Sierra Club, San Mateo County Democrats, the San Mateo Daily Journal, Mayor Oliva, and other council members, members of the school board, and also the Planning Commission. And I'm honored, and I am humbly asked for your vote.
Thank you, Wayne. And Maurice, your closing statement. You also have 2 minutes.
Yes. Thank you all for joining us today. I'd like to thank the Chamber as well. I would like to also say that as an experienced elected official here in our county, someone that has represented Millbrae on numerous accounts, I will tirelessly work to earn your trust, to earn your vote, to earn this opportunity that would be humbly given and received. And I will utilize my experience as a housing board member for the community college district, someone that has worked across the county to bring housing not just to our faculty and staff and our workforce, but someone that also has worked with our state leaders and our local leaders to bring free community college to our entire county, including Millbrae, especially Millbrae, that every student will be able to receive free community college by the work of myself and my colleagues. I will also make sure that my commitment to you all is recognized through the hard work and effort of working with my colleagues as new council members to bring forth the change, bring forth the representation, and bring forth the effort and expectation that you have of your elected officials to act in a way that is deserving and of your respect. And I humbly ask you again to visit votegoodman.com. And if you'd like to have a conversation with me, meet me at Starbucks every Monday at 9 and every Friday at 3:30.
Thank you, Maurice. That sounds fun. And finally, we'll let you close out the closing statements, Angelina, and you have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you again, Millbrae Chamber of Commerce, MCTV, and my fellow candidates, Wayne, Maurice, and Bob. And I'd also like to thank everyone who came out to support me tonight. I appreciate it. Even before I made the decision to run for city council, I've been active in our schools and our city. I've been attending almost every city council meeting this year and attended many planning commission meetings and other city commission and community meetings. I've built relationships with the city manager and Tom Williams and his staff, especially those in public works, and I'm grateful for their collaboration on addressing flooding in Airport Park and for educating me on many city projects. I love my community and my neighbors. We've walked our kids to school together. We've figured out ways to include our diverse families in our school and in our neighborhood, and we've helped one another clean up our streets after flooding. I'm running for city council, not for political career gain, but my career has been of service, and I want to continue that with serving my neighbors and my home of Millbrae. I stick to my values and stand up for what I believe in, and I believe that every Millbrae resident should feel safe, seen, heard, and celebrated, and that everyone has a high quality of life. I love Millbrae and how far we've come and the future that we have ahead of us. There are issues in our town that have been issues for many years and possibly decades. So I'm confident that political experience isn't necessarily what our city needs. It's a fresh perspective, a leader who listens, collaborates, and a leader who puts the needs of our residents front and center. I hope that you will entrust your vote with me. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to thank our audience who attended tonight and everyone who submitted questions for this forum. And let's give huge thanks to our candidates, Angelina, Maurice, Wayne, and Bob, for making themselves available tonight. You gave everyone in the room a chance to get to know you and to make a better, more informed decision on Election Day. So whatever you all do, don't forget to vote on November 8th. And you can drop your ballots off at City Hall. You can vote in person. Make sure if you're voting by mail that you sign that envelope. Do you know that's the #1 reason that ballots are discarded? If you don't sign. So make sure you do that. And thank you all for giving us your time tonight. Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
You too, Wayne.